that those standards that are going to be set up are met in the Oakland Public Schools. Meanwhile, the man authorities believe was behind a decade of bloody Oakland drug wars and killings was buried today, and police hope his passing is going to bring to an end an era of brutality in Oakland's turbulent history. But even in the end, this funeral today was flashy and controversial, and the city really couldn't do anything about it. Channel 7's Ed Leslie has details for us.
Right along in here. I need just a little bit more room, please. A little bit more room.
Just when the East Bay thought one of its most notorious hoods was gone forever, he came back to star in a funeral production fit for a king. Alas, it was his own. 32-year-old convicted drug racketeer Felix Mitchell was stabbed to death last week in his cell at Leavenworth. Mitchell was convicted in San Francisco federal court earlier this year after allegations that he was the kingpin in an East Oakland heroin dealership that featured fancy cars, flashy parties, and murders. Murders including victims who had nothing to do with Mitchell's mob, innocent people who were killed merely by accident. His neighborhood, however, was divided today on whether Felix Mitchell was a hero or a villain.
The family has a right to a private funeral. I don't think they have a right to force this kind of thing on the community in Oakland, and I'm very upset about it. Felix dealt in drugs over here in the village for years. He used young kids to deal with drugs. I don't think any of us here want our kids to be brought up that way. And I think this is a good example of what happens when you deal with drugs.
If you put some jobs here, maybe we won't have this on the streets of Oakland. That's what it takes. You understand?
And I know what he done. He was a good man. And we need to tell the city officials that if they get the jobs out there, then maybe it wouldn't be so much drugs in Oakland.
There were others interested in the garish parade that made its way right down San Pablo Avenue, tying up traffic and amazing onlookers.
This is totally ridiculous.
And they were the detectives who helped send Mitchell to prison.
We're heading towards Lake Merritt.
They were looking for Mitchell's possible successor, and their somewhat ostensible vantage point was Mitchell's favorite red Ferrari, seized by the government under a new law. At the church, hundreds of people were turned away from the sellout funeral, but many were lucky enough to get souvenir programs. Others just watched, quietly wondering how to explain all this to their children. The services were strictly private as family and friends said their last goodbyes to Felix Mitchell, now at last a victim himself. In Oakland, Ed Leslie, Channel 7 News.
Well, those pictures that police were taking there are going to be gone over very closely to see if anybody was there who should not have been there, and maybe help them focus in on trying to find out who's going to try to power their way down the same path that Mitchell did. Coming up next here at 6.